rebuilding confidence in early sobriety. You're not alone. You're not alone if you get sober and you're wondering where is my confidence? Soda water? Been to Bali? This is amazing. Air soda. Hi, I'm Kirsten Johnson. Welcome back to my subscribers. If you are new here, please subscribe and hit the bell so you get notification of upcoming videos. Specifically because there's this whole sobriety series that you're gonna wanna stay in tune with. And so early sobriety, so many people when they get sober, this is what I found, this is what a lot of my clients found, the people that I work with who are in recovery, my friends who are sober, it's just what I've seen since 2009 is it's kind of like, WTF happened to my confidence. You're not alone. The way that I think about it is like this. It's like imagine building a house on a foundation of ice. That's what it's like living in the world when you're drunk, when you're not sober, when you're masking your feelings, when you're avoiding your feelings, numbing them out, doing whatever, avoiding yourself, self-rejection. And then when we get sober, it's like that ice melts and the house slides off and it's, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I remember 90 days sober having an existential crisis at Noah's Bagel, a bagel shop on Market Street in San Francisco at lunchtime, which was a very, very busy bagel shop. And I'm crying to my sober friend saying, I don't know who I am. And she said to me, maybe this is your experience too. It's like, what the fuck? I'm sober. What is life even? Where is my confidence? What is even the meaning of life? Who am I in all of this? And she said to me, and what I want to say to you is, isn't that so amazing that you get to find out who you are? Most people don't get to find out who they are. So I am by no means an expert on confidence or sobriety or anything like that at all, but I am a woman who has been sober one day at a time since 2009, and I have had a lot of experience being really unconfident, really filled with doubt and anxiety and all the feels, and I've come to a place of way more confidence than I used to have, and I want to share with you what's worked for me and what I've seen work for other people. Some of the stuff I say in this video is going to repeat a video that I made recently for you that I would suggest that you check out, which is the emotional roller coaster in early recovery. It's nice to have these topics layer on each other. Also, why would you want to do all this work? Why would you not just want to get drunk? Maybe you're a real alcoholic, but what the hell does a real alcoholic mean? Click here to find out what a real alcoholic is. There are 4 ways I'm going to share with you that you can start or continue to rebuild your confidence in recovery. Number 1 is making that decision. Maybe you made it in the last video I made about the emotional roller coaster, making that decision that you're willing to feel the feels that are sitting between you and your dream. We feel our way to freedom. That's been my journey. The journey to loving myself feels like everything I never wanted to feel. The journey to freedom feels like everything I never wanted to feel. You want to live happy, joyous, and free? Get down with the feels. So the decision that we make here, the decision that I'm inviting you to make, the decision that I decided to make literally was fuck fear. That was my decision. The decision that I'm inviting you to make or to consider right now is, are you willing to feel uncomfortable for the sake of your dream? Are you willing to take action despite the buzz in the body called anxiety or fear towards what it is that you want to do, that you want to live, your passion, your dream, your profession, your relationship, whatever it may be, and knowing that that's called courage. So the decision in this step is to decide that you're willing to be courageous. It's a game changer. Number 2 is commit to emotional mastery. I don't mean this in some sort of like egoic way or wild, big, confusing thing like a master. What does that even mean? Like, am I like levitating? I mean being on the journey of mastering your emotions one day at a time so that you can grow and evolve at your own rate in your own way better than you used to be. So compared to how we were yesterday, we can continue to grow and evolve in our own emotional mastery. So what does that mean? That means you got to be aware of your feelings as you're having them. There's a big difference between getting triggered and thinking F you to getting triggered and thinking anger is here. And isn't it more accurate that anger is here versus I am angry? You are not angry. Who you are a soul inside a body, but anger can be here. Fear is here. Guilt is here. It gives us a separation, like instead of being married to our emotional world, it gives us a little bit of space to observe our emotions without being lost in them. So it's a difference between like watching a movie and being lost in the movie, like in a movie theater. There's a fire on the movie screen and we think the movie screen's on fire, or we can notice that we're sitting in a movie theater and there's a fire on the screen and that we're totally safe. Maybe that's trippy, but the important thing is to get that space between you and your emotions so you can observe the emotions without being lost in it. So how do we gain that space? How do we begin the journey of emotional mastery? Well, you gotta see it, right? G.I. Joe, man, knowing is half the battle, the great American sage. So we gotta be able to see that we're having the emotion and notice it and not be scared by it, not try to avoid it, not try to throw food over it or throw swiping left or right over it or throw Netflix over it or throw gambling over it or sex or anything else. So instead of using a secondary addiction in recovery, allowing the feeling to be as it is. Like when I quit smoking at 6 months sober, it was like, oh, here's a feel, oh, here's a feel, oh, here's a feel. Really, my head was saying, get a cigarette, it's time to smoke. But what I realized was that every time my head was saying, I want a cigarette, I'd even salivate wanting the cigarette, really what was happening was I was having a feeling. The cigarettes were feeling blockers. So we gotta notice that we're having the feels and see them, that they're there, and then start to notice them and become the awareness of them instead of lost in them. So we allow them, we accept them, which is allowing and accepting ourselves, which is part of the journey of self-love, and that's also the journey of confidence. 3, and you may have heard this one before, but it is restraint of pen and tongue, and it is so imperative and important. So as Viktor Frankl said, there is a space between the stimulus and the reaction or the response, and within that space lies our power and our freedom. And how do we get that space? It's not another second for every year we're sober. I don't know who made that up or why anyone says that. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. No, we get that space by pausing. Whether you're praying and saying, God, please hold my tongue right now. I have so many times prayed and said, please help me shut up. Please help me shut up. Please help me shut up. And then the words fly out of my mouth as if I didn't have the power to do it any different. And so we practice restraint of pen and tongue by not saying anything. Maybe it's like you write the email or the text message and you don't send it, or you write it to yourself and you send it to yourself, and then the next day you review it and decide if you want to send it. But putting a pause between what the action you want to take or the words you want to take and the action that you actually take, if you actually take any action at all. So this really helps with our confidence, because if we don't have that pause at all, we're in reactive mode, and then we're not even in choice, we're unconscious. So by working on that pause, by deliberately pausing throughout the day and being grateful at the gurus who may have formerly been called like a-holes, the gurus who are waking you up to your practice of pausing. I mean, think of it like when we're in the gym, we're gonna like lift a weight, and it's that resistance of the 5 pound, 10 pound, 30 pound weight that we're lifting, maybe 50 pound, I don't know, 100 pound, how strong are you? I'm not that strong. But the resistance of that weight is what allows us to build our muscles, and then we get stronger. And so the resistance of the a-hole or the guru in your environment, the resistance that you feel when you're triggered, that allows you to strengthen your ability, your muscle. And then of course you're gonna be confident because you're able to see what happens in your environment. People are pushing your buttons, and you get to choose how you want to engage with life. And then you get to consciously and deliberately create your world. And that's beautiful. 4, I would say, is trusting ourselves. A lot of us get sober and we don't trust ourselves. And that makes sense. We've probably been very violated. Maybe you've been very violated and you're not really sure what your truth is. Maybe you weren't allowed to have a truth when you were a child, or maybe in your last relationship you weren't allowed, or your current relationship, not allowed to have a truth. And then we lose our inner voice, and maybe we're people pleasing, or whatever the case may be. So getting in touch with our truth is such an important part in building our own legitimate confidence, grounded in ourself, centered in our truth, in the stillness within. And so the way that we can get better at deciphering what is our truth is by quieting down. So meditation is great for this. Having that time to listen to the deeper voice downstairs, the deeper voice in our gut, in our intuition, instead of our thoughts, but really trusting what we feel and relying upon that, and seeing what happens when we listen to our intuition, and seeing what happens when we don't, and starting to gather data from our own experience about letting that noise go away, and meditating and focusing and turning the volume up on our soul, basically, or on our higher power. And we do that through quieting down and hearing that voice inside. And eventually what it leads to, caring more about your soul's expression in the world than what other people are gonna judge you or what you imagine they're gonna think about you. So trusting yourself, trusting what you feel called to do as a career, trusting which relationship you feel called to be in, or which one you feel called to leave, but trusting what you feel inside and getting into your own energy and noticing when you're expansive and when you're contractive, and doing more of what expands you, doing more of what feels good in your body, doing more of what lights you up and what is opening you up to the world. Trusting the guidance that you hear and that what you feel, and getting that experience from taking that action, and just being on the journey of like, when you feel something, when you know something, that you know it's your truth. So connecting more to your truth than what you worry about what people might think about you or what they actually directly say to you. Especially for us dream livers, we start doing new things, maybe putting a video on YouTube or whatever it may be. There will be the haters, there will be the naysayers, there will be the people that don't understand us. Be yourself anyway. It's not like it's an easy journey, but I would almost argue that it's more easy to be yourself and get criticized for it than to not be yourself, to bleed out your soul to the people around you, to do a job that bleeds your soul away, be in a relationship that is squashing your spirit. So it probably ultimately is easier. And isn't it true that most of the things that take short-term discomfort lead to the long-term gain? And that's the journey of recovery, really. It's recovering to our spirit, recovering to our natural expression in the world. That's how I see it. And there is a short-term pain, although I don't really think of it as a pain, a short-term resistance, discomfort in order to have that long-term gain. To be willing to be judged so that you can honor who you are and honor your truth and be yourself and shine your own light. Another thing that really is helpful for growing your confidence is growing your faith in a higher power. So you can click up here to watch that video about how to grow your faith in a higher power. My opinion, again, I am not an expert on confidence, on God, on sobriety, on any of this. I'm just a girl who is way more confident than she used to be, has way more faith than I used to have, which was 0, and is way more sober than I used to be, which is not at all. If you like this video, like it, share it with your friends, especially your sober friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to subscribe.